Have you ever felt overwhelmed by a cluttered home, where scattered belongings create disorder and endless frustration? A home where finding things can be a real struggle that often ends up in despair. You're not alone. A survey found that 54% of Americans are stressed out about their cluttered home. On average, we spend 1 year of our lives looking for lost items at home. What if there was a tool to help you out? What if you could overview and manage your belongings in an app? Imagine planning your spring cleaning from the sofa, marking items to donate or discard. What if you could overview your inventory to prevent duplicate purchases that further clutter your home? Let me introduce you to Sortapp and show you how to get started. I'll start by adding my home, but this can also be your office, storage unit, or any other place you'd like to organize. Great, I've added my home. Next, I'm going to add a few rooms inside. I tap the plus button at the bottom to add a room inside my home. If your camera lets you shoot wide angle, it helps capture more of the room. Once you're satisfied with the image, tap continue at the top right. At the top, there is a switch to select if the living room should be a place or an item. Places and items are the main building blocks of Sortapp. So before we continue, let me explain the difference between them. Places can contain other things inside, like a living room or a bookshelf. You could think of them as folders. On the other hand, items are standalone objects that cannot contain anything inside, like a bicycle or a plant. If this sounds confusing, don't worry, I'll show you a lot of examples as we proceed. I flip the switch at the top to add the living room as a place instead of an item. And finally, tap add at the top right. Great, the first place is added inside our home. I'll continue adding a few more rooms. I tap the plus button. I'll snap an image of the room. Tap continue. Tap the switch at the top to add the hallway as a place instead of an item. And finally, tap add at the top right. I'll add 2 more rooms before we continue to the next step. There are now 4 places in my home, and I can swipe sideways to see them all. Currently, all the places are empty. So our next step will be to add content inside a place. I tap the living room to get inside. I will add our first item here soon, but first, I want to address a common misunderstanding. Sortapp is not about creating an inventory that covers every single item in your entire home. It's about adding the places and items that make sense to you. For example, in this tutorial, I won't add the bathroom, kitchen, or the playroom. And I won't add all the places and items located in this living room either. Instead, I want to show you how to start small with a few places you'll enjoy having in order, and add items that make sense to keep track of for you. As you get comfortable with the app, you will learn where it's helpful for you. With that misunderstanding out of our way, let's add the first item inside the living room. This robot has been with me for years, but I still forget its model number whenever I need brushes and other spare parts. I'm adding it to my inventory so I never lose track again. The robot is a standalone object that shouldn't contain anything else, so I'll add it as an item. As we selected more than one image this time, a new switch appeared at the top left. It allows me to create one item from all the images, or separate ones from each. Since these are all robot images, I'll add them as one item. You will shortly see a clear example of when to use the other option. I'll add a coffee table to the living room as well. An underside view can also be handy. So far, we have added places and items one by one. But what if you have lots to add? Like a closet full of t-shirts, or a bookshelf packed with books. That could take a while. So I'll show you a faster way to add multiple items at once. Let's add the bookshelf with all the books inside. I'll make it a place so we can fill it with books. I tap the bookshelf to get inside, and the plus button to start adding books. We could add books one by one like this. But we could also do it faster like this. I'll start by snapping images of all the items I want to add. I tap the switch at the top left to add images as separate items. 2 more books are added to the bookshelf. Let's add a few more. It took me just over 4 minutes to add 29 books, which is about 9 seconds per book. Message from future me. I realized my performance here was quite bad, so I did a new video where I improved my pace to about 5 seconds per book. You'll find it in the description. Like before, I tap the top left switch to add the images as separate items. Great! The bookshelf is added with all the books. I tap the back button to navigate up one level to the living room. A few small images have appeared below the bookshelf. These are preview images for its content. I tap the back button again to navigate up another level to my home. We now see the content preview images for the living room as well. The other rooms look a bit empty. So let's add a few items to them as well. I add the shoe rack with our shoes in the hallway. And the closet with my shirt section in the bedroom. Finally, we add something to the basement storage. Storages are the areas where Sortapp has helped me the most. It's incredibly handy to know what's hidden away in boxes, as we tend to forget their content over time. Great! There is now some content in all the rooms. Even more important, you have learned a lot. But I intentionally left a few features out, and I will soon tell you why. Let's add another item in the living room. Some people really benefit from having their plants in the inventory. You will soon see why. But first, I'll show you the core features that I intentionally left out before. I tap the plus button at the bottom right to see a few properties I can use for this item. These properties are essential, but new users sometimes overuse them, which can undermine Sortapp's simplicity. Let me show you what I mean. I'll start by giving this plant a title. And I give it a tag. So what's wrong with naming and categorizing your belongings? It's extremely time consuming. Imagine if I had named all the places and items throughout this tutorial. Chances are you'd gotten bored and dropped off long before now. Once someone starts naming their items, they usually stick with it. After all, it feels odd to label some things and ignore the rest. So, I recommend skipping titles until they add information you can't already see in the image. And don't worry about tagging much until you've learned the basics. Getting this wrong in the beginning can really defeat the purpose of Sortapp being fast and flexible. For this plant, the title and tag probably don't add much information. Instead, I'll add a property I find truly helpful here. A reminder to water this plant in a week. I have now added the plant with a title, tag and reminder. You can see the title here, and I will soon show you how to view your tags and reminders. But first, I'll show you a great way to use tags. Let's add another plant. Or maybe we should say a pot. Like I mentioned earlier, some people really benefit from adding their plants to the inventory. Sadly, this one didn't survive until I started using watering reminders. But it's alright. I give this plant a to-do tag to make sure a new plant will thrive here soon. The to-do tag is something I use all the time in my own inventory. Let's see how we can view the tagged items. Tap the tag icon in the bottom menu. Here is the list of all the tags. Tap a tag to see the tagged items. And tap the clock icon in the bottom menu to view the reminders. And the house icon to get back to the main view. Great, you've learned so much. But there is one last essential feature I want to show you before we wrap up. So much for Sortapp's flexibility if we couldn't move things around. Let's create a place inside the living room for the plants and move them there. I long press one of the items I want to move to enter select mode. I tap the second plant to add it to the selection. Then I tap the move icon in the bottom menu. I navigate to the place where I want to move the plants. Then tap move here. Great! You've learned a lot, and I hope it's enough to get you started. Sortapp is still at the beginning of its journey, and we'd love your feedback to improve both the app and these tutorials. Subscribe if you'd like more tips and tricks on getting the most out of Sortapp. Have a great day!